Have you ever been having a perfectly normal day, and then, for no reason at all, your brain decides to embarrass you? You're washing the dishes, driving to work, trying to fall asleep. Then suddenly, it reminds you of something you did years ago. Maybe you sent a message to the wrong person. Maybe you called someone by the wrong name. Or you said something that sounded much better in your head than it did out loud. The memory comes back so clearly that your body reacts before your mind does. You shake your head. You hide your face. Sometimes you even say, "Why did I do that?" It's strange. Your brain forgets thousands of ordinary days, but it never seems to forget that one awkward moment that lasted less than a minute. I've always wondered why. Why that memory? Why not the hundreds of moments that went perfectly fine? Why does one embarrassing moment stay with us for years, while so many happy ones quietly fade away? If questions like this fascinate you, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Project Human. Every week, we explore the quiet thoughts and everyday experiences that make us human. Now, here's what's strange. I don't think this is really a story about memory. I think it's a story about change. Think about the last time you looked at an old photo of yourself. Maybe you laughed at your hairstyle, or your clothes. Then something else happened. You didn't just notice how different you looked. You noticed how different you were. You remembered wanting people to like you so badly. How one unanswered message could ruin your whole day. How you cared so much about fitting in that you sometimes pretended to be someone you weren't. Or maybe your story looked different. You stayed in a friendship that had already ended. You kept saying yes when you wanted to say no. You spent years trying to prove your worth to people who had already made up their minds about you. Looking back now, it makes you cringe. You can't believe that used to be you. And that's the kind of cringe that interests me most. Not the awkward moment. The awkward version of ourselves. There's something fascinating about that feeling. When you remember an embarrassing moment, you're looking at your past. But when you cringe at the person you used to be, it almost feels like you're looking at a stranger. How can the same person feel so unfamiliar? I think the answer is simpler than we realize. You never cringe while you're living the moment. Think about it. When you sent that message, you thought it was the right message. When you kept chasing someone's attention, it felt completely reasonable. When you cared so much about what people thought, you had your reasons. You weren't thinking, "One day I'll look back and be embarrassed by this." Of course not. You were simply living with the understanding you had at the time. The cringe came later. After life taught you something new. After you changed, after you became someone who wouldn't make that same choice anymore. That's why your past can feel so uncomfortable. It reminds you that you're no longer the same person. And maybe that's exactly what it's supposed to do. So why doesn't your brain let these memories go? Why bring them back years later? I used to think it was just my brain being cruel, like it enjoyed reminding me of every embarrassing thing I'd ever done. I don't believe that anymore. Think about a child who touches a hot stove. They only need to learn that lesson once. After that, their brain remembers. Not to punish them, to protect them. I think emotional memories work the same way. When something makes us feel deeply, our brain pays attention. Almost like it's saying, "This matters. Keep this one." The strange part is, your brain remembers the feeling long after you've learned the lesson. So an old memory suddenly appears. Not because you're still that person. Simply because your brain hasn't realized you've already changed. That's where I think we're hardest on ourselves. We judge our younger selves using lessons they hadn't learned yet. We ask, "What was I thinking?" Maybe there's a better question. What did I know then? Everything changes when you ask that instead. Imagine watching someone trying to solve a maze. You're looking from above. They aren't. You can see every wrong turn before they take it. They can't. So every decision they make is based on what they can see, not what you can see. Your younger self was living life exactly like that. They weren't careless. They weren't trying to get it wrong. They were making the best decision they could, with the understanding they had. Life hadn't taught them those lessons yet. You only know them now because you've already lived through them. That's easy to forget. Today you understand why that friendship ended, why you cared so much about what people thought, why you ignored warning signs that seem obvious now. Back then, none of those things felt obvious. They were simply your life, and you were trying to make sense of it, one day at a time. I think we forget that. Every version of us believed they were moving in the right direction. Even the version we cringe at. They wanted to be loved. They wanted to belong. They wanted life to work out. Just like we do today. The only difference is, life has taught us a few more things since then. And here's a thought I can't stop coming back to. One day, the person you are today will become another memory. Your future self will probably smile at some of the things you're worried about right now. They'll notice mistakes you can't even see yet. They'll wonder why you were so hard on yourself. Just like you're wondering why you were so hard on your younger self. That changes how I think about cringe. Maybe growing up isn't reaching a point where you stop cringing at your past. Maybe it's reaching a point where you understand it, where embarrassment slowly turns into compassion. Because every version of you, the insecure one, the awkward one, the people pleaser, the one who didn't know when to walk away, was trying to build the life you're living now. Without that version of you, this version wouldn't exist. So the next time an old memory finds you, don't ask, "Why was I so embarrassing?" Ask, "What was I still learning?" You might discover that the person you've been judging all these years doesn't need another critic. They need a little understanding, because they carried the confusion, so you could carry the wisdom. And maybe that's what this feeling has been trying to tell us all along. Cringing at your past isn't proof that you were broken. It's proof that you kept growing. If this episode helped you see your past a little differently, I'd love for you to join us. Subscribe to Project Human, where every week we explore the quiet thoughts, hidden emotions, and everyday experiences that make us human.